So good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming and being a part of the Center for Spiritual Living here in Ukiah, California, our both virtual, meaning live streaming, and in-person Sunday service. I am the Reverend Dr. Candace Beckett. I am the current GAP minister here in Ukiah. And so I just want to welcome all of you and thank you so much for being a part of our inspiration. Oops, was that me? Did I do that to myself? I did. Try that again. Anyway, so thank you all for being here today. And I just, as I do every week, want to remind you that I know somewhere in this service, whether it's in the talk or the music or the treatment, that you are going to be able to hear and embrace exactly what you are seeking right here, right now, today. So to begin our service, I am going to have Bonnie Callan. Oh, wait just a second, Bonnie, because this is what we're still a little, so hopefully next week we are going to have, come on. So there we all are. That's all of us right now. But I am going to change this right here to here. So next week, everything, Mary can do it, but I'm not very good at it.
He is.
Not right now.
Okay.
We're in service. So what we're going to do next week, the camera, the new computer, the tripod will all be here. And so we will have somebody like me or Harvey who will be able to do this moving really easy. So, but for right now, here we go. And Bonnie, you're up for doing the opening treatment. So take it away.
Good morning. Hope everybody is comfortable and that we can all just kind of calm down, center ourselves, close our eyes, and know with me there is only one life, and this life is God. And I have the incredible opportunity to have this physical existence in God, with God, as me, for me, through me. I am a whole, happy, abundant, loving presence, and every single moment I have the opportunity to experience millions of people, places, things, situations. I can walk down city streets or mountain trails. I can breathe in the scent of flowers or baking bread. I can share love, receive love, give love. I have friends and time and all of the support that I could ever want. I am so grateful for every aspect of this physical existence. And there is so much, my heart can hardly hold it all. But I am grateful for it. I am grateful in it. And I release all of this love and gratitude to God and to all who share it with me. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Bonnie. That was really beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so now our special music today will be presented by Mary Buckley. So Mary, take it away. You're still muted.
thought I'd share screen first while you were talking, but you're too quick for me. I'm going to be singing along. I'm sharing computer sounds so that I can sing along with an old recording of an old song. Some of you may have heard it. It's called Galaxies. The chorus is simple, so sing along if you like. Pardon the whole keyboard. Galaxies inside galaxies, tree inside the seed, mysteries inside you, mysteries inside me. Look in the eyes of a baby, look in the evening sky. Who made the fire and water, and who can tell you why? Galaxies inside galaxies, tree inside the seed, mysteries inside you, mysteries inside me. I climbed upon the hilltop with sadness in my heart. The sadness turned to vapor and floated to the stars. Galaxies inside galaxies, tree inside the seed, mysteries inside you, mysteries inside me. Faith can move a mountain, love can melt a stone, but nothing moves without spirit, and spirit's inside our bones. Galaxies inside galaxies, trees inside the seas, mysteries inside you, mysteries inside me. Galaxies inside galaxies, tree inside the seed, mysteries inside you, mysteries inside you.
Oh, thank you, Mary. That really was, okay, hold on. I can do this. Okay. I have to bring it back over here. We'll get there, I promise. It's just sometimes, I'll be really glad when all our new equipment is here. And we don't, come on. Oh, it's about ready to give, oh, there it was. Almost. Oh, there you are. Hey. So I realized that at one point Mary was singing, but the camera was still on me, and I tried muting myself and all those kind of things, but I should have just moved my lips, and then you would all thought I was singing, right?
It depends on what's the one that's on the screen.
Oh, I said sing along.
They sing along.
I think you want spotlight is what you want there.
Spotlight, not, yeah, okay. All right. See, those are all the little things I really still don't know, but we'll get there. And so if anybody else wants to be helpful and learn how to do all of this, sounds like Harvey can probably be a better teacher than me. But starting next week, we are going to start to need people that are willing to do that. So consider it. It's actually kind of fun, and it isn't too hard, but there's lots of things for us to learn and to figure out as we move forward. But yay, we are moving forward, and that's exciting. So, okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to actually get to the lesson part of today. And like last week, I think I started by saying, I didn't, what I thought I was going to say and what I ended up saying were not the same thing. And that always makes me a little nervous. So I kind of am still in that. I've lost the cursor, so excuse me just for a second while there I find what I need to do. There we go. And what I found that I wanted to talk about today was kind of, well, it has something to do with things that we have already discussed a lot in the last 30 years that I've been standing up here. And it's about that in religious science or in the science of mind, that we are taught, and particularly early into classes and learning about this philosophy, it comes across very intellectual, and there's lots of reasons and lots of theories on why that is. But in the last, I don't know, 20 years or so, we've been trying to kind of come to a better place. And I found this story, which, as far as I can see, I think I did tell it one time here at this center, but it was in like 1997. So I figured you could hear it again. Yeah, news story, right? All right. So when I'm talking about how intellectual we are, because, as a kid, I didn't know that. I just was, learning what I was learning. But as I grew older, I did realize that this was very intellectual and very logical. We had formulas for things like, 5 steps of treatment that make a logical, sequential sense in why we do that the way we do it. But even like the creative process, the things that we draw and the things that we liken it to, that creative processes like planting seed and all of those things. There's lots of formulas, lots of logic, but for many, includes me, even though my life was improved considerably by being able to understand and follow those formulas, I kind of always had a sense that something was missing. And I could tell you story after story after story, even from very small childhood, where I was looking for something else, something that felt more like an embrace than an intellectual process. And, but I remember at one point thinking that, well, I have everything I need, but I have no idea where I'm going. And I sometimes felt, and sometimes still, if I'm honest, I feel very lost about what are my next steps. And right now, because we're in this big process, I thought, well, now maybe is a time for us to look at that. Years ago, there was a minister at Asilmar, Jim Terrell, and he gave this talk that I thought was an amazing talk. But one of the things he said was the furthest journey that any of us have ever taken is the journey from our head to our heart, and then our heart to our head. So here we have, and then later I heard another minister using that same, and she was saying, we have about this 12-inch span, and for some reason, that's a hard one to get and to be able to do it with ease, that what we are thinking intellectually does not necessarily stir our heart, but what stirs our heart, we can't make sense of. So how do we do that? So, what I know is that we have all the tools that we need, everything that we need, and yet we keep wandering around in this intellect with a growing sense that something is missing, or at least that's how it was for me. Dr. Holmes, really early in the textbook, I mean, really early, first 4 chapters stuff, says that we deal with too much theory and too little practice, and too much telling, which is the head stuff, and not enough showing, which is the heart stuff. And how many would rather be told? So this is a question for you to consider. How many of you would rather be told what love is or shown what love is? So that's what we're kind of starting to think about, or at least me, over the last, well, 70 years. I've thought about it on and off, but it's really coming up for me a lot. How can I show what it is that I believe and feel and know, including the love, including the intellect, but let me show it, not just talk about it all the time. But it occurred to me that sometimes I'm afraid. So you might ask yourself, am I afraid to show, love or intelligence, anything? We have a belief, or at least I have a belief that revealing the self, revealing my deepest sense of who I am, that I might get labeled. There might be disapproval. And those fears will remain for as long as I continue to be trapped in this limited concept of who I really am. And so that's kind of how I got started on this topic for today. So some of us are really afraid to show love, show our intelligence. I mean, I think, we even have that because we have learned that showing love, being forgiving, being too intuitive are signs of weakness. And what I know now is that that's a really limited concept. I mean, I remember being told, as a child, don't cry, you're a crybaby, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, but that was what I really needed to do, was cry. But I grew up with that. And then at some point in my adult years, I had to start to look at what a limited concept that is for myself and even for the people around me. So it's time to look at ourselves differently. So I found this story from 1997. Well, 1997 for me, it's a much older story than that. It's from Japan. And the story is usually called Three Strong Women. But the kind of pivotal character in the book is a man. And his name is Forever Mountain. Forever Mountain. And he's a sumo wrestler. So he's huge. And he considers himself the strongest in the land, and a lot of other people consider him the strongest in the land. And this year, he has been invited to attend this national sumo wrestling competition that's going to be put on by the king or the emperor, whoever. And he's got a lot of time to get there, but he's also got nothing else better to do. So he just decides to go. And on his way, he'll meander the countryside and things like that. But he has several months. So it's pretty early in his journey. And he's walking up the side. Well, he's walking on a path. That's what it says. And in the story. And he sees this young girl, younger than him, but not a child, young girl. And she is carrying a huge bucket of water. She's serious, really heavy. She's balancing it on her head, and she's walking in the path in front of him. So he decides he's going to tickle her. He thinks that's hysterical, So he goes up, kind of sneaking up, and he gets up to next to her. He just, and instead of what he's expecting her to drop that water and getting all drenched, instead, she grabs his arm and pins it against her side, still holding the water on her head. And he can't get loose. He tries, and she's just dragging him along, and she goes off the path and starts up the mountain, and he's begging her to let him go. This isn't working for him at all. But she continues to drag him up the mountain. And she says to him, you may not be as strong as you think. It's a good thing we're here to help you. And So it ends up, she is dragging him to her home, which is pretty high up in the mountains. And she never lets go of him the whole way up. And he ends up staying with them. She even says, if you stay with us for 3 months, we can teach you how to successfully win the sumo match, or how to be stronger in your goal. And so she finally releases him just as they start to see this little cottage up in the woods up high. And coming down the side of the mountain is her mother. And she's carrying, and depending, I read actually like 3 versions of this story. They're all pretty similar, but in this particular version, she's carrying a huge cow just over her neck. In a couple of stories, she's got a cow under each arm. I mean, so she's strong. She's very strong. And she walks on down with this cow, and as she's putting it down, she looks over at the guy and she goes, "Don't try that. It takes a lot of strength. You need to work with grandma. She's frail." And about then, grandma comes around the corner, from behind a tree, and she's tiny and she looks pretty frail, and she trips over the root of a tree. And she gets herself back up and she looks at the tree and she goes, "I've been meaning to do something about this." And so she puts her arms around the tree and pulls it out of the ground and throws it up the mountain. And it goes a long way and crashes. And she was like, "Oh, I must be losing it. I meant for it to go over the mountain." But he's pretty dumbstruck at this point. And um, and so the girl, whose name is Mirame, by the way, Mirame introduces Forever Mountain to the mom and to the grandmother, and Forever Mountain begins by saying, "How is it that you are so strong?" And almost in unison, but they all answer, "Clean air, healthy living." Clean air, healthy living. So very soon, he's pretty clear that he does want to stay and learn from these women. And again, depending on which story, he works really hard all day, and he can do, not even half of what these women can do to start with. But he's working, and then every night after dinner, he wrestles with grandma and pretty much never wins. But they wrestle anyway. And so, but after, pretty short amount of time, he's doing the work of 5 men, but still not as much as even one of these women. So he just keeps doing it. He keeps wrestling with grandma, and he gets stronger. And then finally one day he goes over to a tree. Now, not as big as the tree as she pulled out, but he wraps his arms around it and he is able to pull it out. And then he throws it. Well, it doesn't go very far, but it went a few feet, and it's still, I was thinking of caber tosses, Irish games. And it's like, that's what Scottish games, it's like caber tossing. So he tosses it, and but they make a decision that he's probably good enough at this point to go to the competition. Now they have a cow. Maybe it's the same cow, I don't know. But they say, "We want you to take this cow down and sell it and use all the money so you can buy yourself one of those silk belts. And so you're just going to look just perfect for the event." And so he kind of, well, okay. And he does take the cow and he does sell it, but he doesn't buy the belt. He's going to take all the money back to the women. But he goes to the event, and the king/emperor is, let's just say he's bored, and he's sitting, watching the events begin to unroll, and he's just kind of really worried that he's just going to be so bored and not be able to continue with the event because he's so bored. So he just like, he goes, who could I get that I think, and he looks over, and it's not so much that he's looking at Forever Mountain, even though Forever Mountain is a huge man. He's looking at the guy next to him, and he goes, that's the guy that's going to win. I'm just going to start putting him in and watch him. You know, it'll go really fast. He'll just kick everybody. So he calls him, and the other competitor, his name is Great Stomach. And it talks about that his stomach is bigger than most of the men at the event. So he's really big. And so he goes ahead, and they get up and they do their little ritual things, you know, salt in the ring and bowing to each other. And then Great Stomach lifts one of his foot. You know, you've seen the sumo wrestlers slam their foot down. He slams it down, and it makes a huge, great noise. And everybody looks out over Forever Mountain. Forever Mountain raises his foot and slams it down, and it creates a small earthquake. In fact, the earthquake is so jarring that Great Stomach flies up into the air, and Forever Mountain goes over and puts his arms out and catches him, and then gently puts him down. And Forever Mountain's like, yeah, that was fluky. But he makes a bunch of excuses and withdraws from the match. And so that continues to happen. So Forever Mountain never hurts anyone, but he's slamming his foot, catching them and putting them down. They withdraw. So finally, the King Emperor is like, you know, I'm going to just declare you the winner. Here's all the money that is, you know, that I promised the winner, because, and you can have it all, but I need for you to promise that you will never wrestle in Japan again. And Forever Mountain looks at him and he says, that is no problem, because I think I want to be a farmer. And so he returns to the mountain, he marries Mirame, and to this day, you can hear that thunder and that, you know, coming at night and feel these little earthquakes. And what we know is that that's actually Forever Mountain and grandmother wrestling. Isn't that a sweet story? I love that story. But there are some things that I thought about, because one of the things at the beginning of the story, he's on his way to, and I left one thing out, because the whole thing about the belt, and he tells the women before he leaves that he's not going to buy that belt. He's going to bring them the money. And they said, oh, don't do that. We didn't, you know, well, you need it as payment for what you've done for me. And they go, no, this is what we do for our friends. This is what you do. And so it's this really lovely thing. And in one of the versions at the end of the story, he actually keeps like 3 or 4 coins, but he gives the rest of the money to all the other wrestlers. So it's just, you know, there's a couple of other things that you can play with that in your version of the story. But anyway, here he is, and he's on his way to this great event that's, you know, kind of what he has been taught and has thought his entire life is his life. This is the goal. This is where he wants to be. But as he's going, and sometimes this does feel like it, he was drug up the mountain, and the mountain is higher consciousness. So don't you sometimes feel like you're just being drug up the mountain? It's like, I'd really, really rather just have my excuses and do it the way I've always done it and be able to, you know, say that, have the judgments that I say, but no, he's getting pulled to this level of higher consciousness. The next thing that I think about is, you know, he thought this girl, that he was going to play this, you know, mischievous trick on her because she was a girl and she was frail. And when he sees the grandmother, he also goes frail. And what I think is one of the lessons that, and we've heard this a million ways, is that you cannot be deceived by appearances. This is the, book by its cover, things like that. And just because you see something and you have a quick assumption, to kind of maybe call ourselves on that, because that may not be the truth. But what I love about the story is the other three main characters, as far as I'm concerned, are these women, these females. And female is always the intuitive part of our consciousness. So this story is reminding us that our intuitive nature, our feeling nature, our inner knower is incredibly strong. And that doesn't mean if you're male or female, we all have that nature. And it's incredibly strong. So I was thinking, so how strong are you? And what I know is that when I'm living above, when I go to that place of my higher self, my highest consciousness, and I'm living above those outside accepted ideas that I may have held most of my life, that it's always a term of consciousness that can turn me from being frail and feeling weak and not good at whatever it is I'm trying to do. And I can move very quickly to a place where I know that I am more than this. I am more than these ideas. So I guess what I want to share with all of you today is the idea that we do not want to be afraid to show our inner self, to show that inner wisdom, that inner love, that inner joy. Because first of all, that is your truest nature. I mean, I get it, there's an intellect in there too, but when we can bring those two things together, we are unstoppable and we are just amazing. And so it's time for us to do that. And I think that as I allow myself to try to be in that higher place, what I started to notice is that I'm learning more. And that was kind of a shock to me because I thought the learning more was an intellectual process. It really did. It's not. It's also a feeling process. So it's time for us to do that. The other thing is, well, I have a quote. This is actually from Desiderata, which you guys have probably heard that. This is just one single line. And he says in there, he says, if you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter. For always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. So what I kind of get from that is really useless for me to compare myself to others, but also to compare myself to what I think others want me to be. And it's not who I want to be. So it's like for me there in this story, there's just like back to thine own self be true. So I think for all of us, we are coming into this place where we need to learn to appreciate the fact that what drives us is very different from what we're told we should do, or what we're told will make us happy. And instead to really look at what is it that is calling me forward, and to engage as much as possible right there all the time, no matter what you're doing. There is something surprisingly freeing about coming from that place of compassion. And, and I really get it that I need to put together my compassion with my intelligence. And when I can do that, and when I can do it every day, and sometimes in the middle of starting to feel a reaction coming up, I just have to take it literally 2 seconds, a breath, and what can I do that is compassionate and intelligent in this moment? And almost always there is an answer. So I'm just encouraging all of us to take some time and look at what is there that I have not really entertained as much as I could. That is who I am being called to be. So take a deep breath. And I'm going to be giving this treatment in the first person. So just know these words for yourself. And I'm going to start with a quote. This is actually from Howard Thurman. And he said, "All my life, I have been seeking to validate beyond all ambivalences and frustrations the integrity of the inner life. I have sensed the urgency to find a way to act and react responsibly out of my own center. I have sought a way of life that could come under the influence of and be informed by the fruits of the inner life." So as we just take that in, know with me right now that today, every day, there is only one thing happening, and that thing is God. It is great love, it is great wisdom, and it is all right here, right now, within me. I derive great comfort and strength from reminding myself that my identity is planted unshakably and permanently in the infinite, shaped by my unique contribution to be more self-sustaining, more unified, more just in the world. I keep my awareness of the divine within, asking, knocking, seeking, receiving the intuitive choices that direct my decisions and inform my actions in everyday living. I observe myself in a swirl of ongoing worldly attention getters, all designed to lure me away from my true center, that place of the greatest inner awareness. And although it may sometimes feel familiar to slip into emotionally reactive patterns, I shift away from whatever temporarily has got my outer attention, and I draw my awareness deeper in and upward, releasing those outermost layers of resistance, fear, and doubt, and finding my sanctuary of sanity within my inseparable oneness with the love that is the universe. My life is emerging anew, moment by moment, poised for my aware movement into compassion, wisdom, imagination, and creativity. I am spiritually sleek, smart, and savvy as I navigate the uncertainty of a world looking for itself. If I continue to discover God as me, I know that I bring added value to the world around me. I gratefully accept that this is the whole truth, and that's the way it is. I value the integrity of my inner self. I give it my undivided attention, knowing I am guided, directed, sourced, and supplied with all the good that I need by the one and the only, by that I am that I am. And so from this place of certainty and relaxation, I know that this is so. And so it is. So another deep breath. And so we are gonna, any second now, I can do this. We're gonna do our offering affirmation. And so I'm putting it up so these guys can see it. You can't see it, but you all know it, right? Okay. So say with me now, divine love through me blesses and multiplies this gift. With all my heart and with all my mind, I know that I am saying yes to something I value. With all others present here, we dedicate these gifts to the values and visions we share. So it is. Okay, so now we have some announcements. Okay. I know I have enough. Okay. Okay, so there is a board meeting today after the service. So if you're a board member, and Mary said she would be here, but not till after service. She had something to do this morning. And Jack is here. And Terry, I'm hoping that you might be able to stay for some of that, but we could talk about that later. Trying to get Terry a little bit more involved in selection business. So as you know, there are lots of things that are up for grabs right now. And I've just started realizing, and you know, it was to the board, well, in a letter I sent, having trouble with my camera today. And I've lost my cursor. Anyway, I mean, I know you guys can hear me, but there I am. Okay. So I'm going to continue to support the center, like starting next week. For the next 6 weeks, we have a guest speaker every week. So please try to attend one way or the other so that you can see everybody, because some of these people may be going to be helpful to us as time goes on. I don't know about actually identifying a new minister yet, but there are some people that are willing to be supportive. So please try to do that. And September 1st marks the 1 year that I've been doing this. So my last Sunday to speak will be September 5th, which is Labor Day weekend. And so considering we have about 6 weeks, I know I've been saying these jobs a lot, but it's really important that these jobs get picked up by someone or we just won't have them. And so it's things like the newsletter and posting on Facebook and YouTube, which is mostly just posting the service. And that's about it. We have a couple of other things that are, you know, but Mary Hooper is taking on like scheduling all the speakers and scheduling all the musicians. And so she's taken that on. Gail will be assigned, well, she'll be taking over, making sure that those of you that do treatments on Sunday morning will be on that schedule. But as we continue, we might want to look at also having a host and ushers and other things like that that we just haven't had for a long time. So please consider, because I know if we kind of say we have a fully operating service team, service ministry going, that's more attractive to potential people than a church where people are not contributing. So take a look at what you might want to do and let me know. Please please contact me directly if you send the email to the church, I often don't see it. So please send it to me at my email. Okay, building bridges is still happening. So if you are interested in helping out with that little project of ours, you can still drop off goods at Teresa's or at Trudy Morgan's, or you can take them directly to Building Bridges. I knew I would come up with that in a minute. So I'm swooping us back over here, but I still have one more thing I want to say before Mary sings us out. And I wrote it down, so if I could find it, it would be really helpful. Oh, what I want, because I've already started to say this, starting next week, we're going to have 6 weeks of guest speakers. One of them is already sitting here. It's Harvey, but that's weeks from now. But Harvey, next week, though, for those of you who have been doing the online thing, Gina Krupa will be our speaker. She's in Rhode Island, so she's going to be right here. But like I said, we'll have the camera and stuff, so hopefully it'll be bigger shot of her. And Harvey's doing the treatment, and Tim will be our soloist next Sunday. And Tim has been doing it from Fremont. He kind of indicated he might want to come up just so he could meet us all. So that would be cool too, that you could see Tim. But anyway, so those are all the announcements for right now. And so Mary, you want to sing us out?
Okay, let me unmute myself. Earlier this morning, we had a Buckley family Zoom, and I was talking muted, and my 3-year-old grandson says, "Grandma, unmute." So, good to have reminders from the younger tech crowd. So this song, a little bit of backstory. 25 years ago, I had a car accident that I was literally flat on my back for months recovering from it. It probably should have killed me a couple of different ways. But it kind of aligns with what Candace said about being afraid to ask for help. I was so fiercely independent. I was a working single mom, and I didn't want a husband. I didn't want to be on welfare. I wanted to do it all myself and work and, just be responsible. And I guess I was afraid that it would be a sign of weakness or a burden on somebody to ask for help. So I just didn't want to do that. And all of a sudden, I couldn't even brush my teeth without somebody bringing me my toothbrush and emptying the spit bowl. And, so I learned so much from that. I realized that people enjoy helping each other. Who knew? I pictured this big cloud of cosmic energy just rinsing through them, like a shower when it went to help other people. And everybody ends up feeling good. So I wrote this poem, and I recently found it. I don't even really remember writing it, but based on the year I wrote it, I know what was going on. So it's called Ask for What You Need on that theme. When you're scared and lost and lonely and you don't know where to turn, someone's waiting there to help you. This is something that I've learned. When you think that you've hit bottom, ask for help and chances are someone's waiting there to help you. You don't have to look that far. Ask for what you need and it'll be there. Ask for what you need and it'll be there. If it's really what you need, speak it out and you'll receive. Ask for what you need and it'll be there. It'll be there. Life can be a whole lot better, and it may not take too long. Someone's waiting there to help to get you back where you belong. Ask for what you need and it'll be there. Ask for what you need and it'll be there. If it's really what you need, speak it out and you'll receive. Ask for what you need and it'll be there. It'll be there.
Oh, thank you, Mary. Wow, that was great. So thank you, Mary. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. And great blessings to you all. And I will see you next week. Namaste.